Most men go through life thinking they need to impress women with money, looks, or charm. But what if I told you that the real key to attraction lies in understanding hidden psychological triggers, weaknesses that women themselves may not even realize? Women, just like men, have subconscious desires, vulnerabilities, and emotional responses they can't always control. The problem: most men have no idea how to recognize or use them to their advantage. Today, we're diving deep into 10 hidden female weaknesses, the psychological triggers that, once understood, will change the way you interact with women forever. Let's get started. Number 1, the power of emotional certainty. Women are highly emotional creatures, but that doesn't mean they're out of control. It just means their emotions guide much of their decision-making, especially in relationships. One of their greatest hidden weaknesses, their deep need for emotional certainty. A woman wants to feel emotionally secure with a man. She doesn't just want passion or excitement. She craves stability, the feeling that she won't be abandoned when things get tough. This is why women are subconsciously drawn to men who remain emotionally unshaken, men who exude calmness, even in chaotic situations. A man who is overly reactive, moody, or emotionally dependent on her will quickly turn her off. Why? Because it signals weakness. Women want to feel safe, and that safety comes from your ability to regulate your emotions, no matter what happens. Think of it like this: if a woman feels like she has to emotionally stabilize you, the roles have reversed. You've become the fragile one, and she's been forced into the dominant role. That dynamic kills attraction fast. Instead, embody Stoic confidence. This means when she gets upset, you remain calm. When things don't go your way, you don't complain or panic. When challenges arise, you handle them with quiet confidence. The man who provides emotional certainty becomes a safe haven for women, something they will always be drawn to, often without realizing why. Number 2, women are drawn to what they can't have. There's an undeniable truth about human nature. We value what is scarce. This is why diamonds, luxury cars, and limited edition sneakers are so desirable, because they aren't easily obtained. Women operate on this exact same principle when it comes to attraction. A woman's hidden weakness: she is drawn to men she can't completely have. Men who are too available, too eager, or too obvious in their attraction lose value in a woman's eyes. She may appreciate the attention, but she won't chase it. On the other hand, the men who create a sense of distance and mystery trigger something deep within her, a desire to close that gap. This is why women often go crazy over men who seem indifferent or hard to read. It's not because they like to be ignored. It's because their subconscious mind assigns higher value to something uncertain. So how do you use this to your advantage? Don't always be available. Make her wonder when she'll see you next, and maintain your independence. Have a life that doesn't revolve around her. Reveal yourself slowly. Don't give away everything at once. Let her discover you over time. The moment a woman feels like she's fully won you, her interest starts to fade. Keep a part of yourself just out of reach, and she'll never stop chasing. Number 3, the unspoken influence of deep voice and presence. Let's talk about something most guys overlook, but women feel it immediately: your voice. Not what you say, but how you say it. There's a reason a deep, grounded voice pulls attention without even trying. It signals strength, calm, dominance, but more than that, it signals presence, and presence, that's a language women understand, even when no words are spoken. We live in a world obsessed with noise, guys trying to impress with flash charm, fast talk, and forced humor. But the man who enters the room and doesn't rush to speak, who waits, breathes, listens, that man creates tension, and women feel that tension, not as discomfort, but as magnetism. You see, a deep voice doesn't just sound good. It signals control, control over your breath, your energy, your pace. And when a man controls his delivery, he shows that he's not desperate to be liked. He's here on his own time, and you're lucky to hear what he has to say. Women pick that up subconsciously. It triggers something ancient in them the same way confidence shows in posture or eye contact. When your voice is calm, low, and steady, you're telling the world you're not easily shaken, and that's deeply attractive. But it's not just about sound, it's about presence. Presence means being fully rooted in the moment, not checking your phone every 20 seconds, not rushing to fill every silence, not shrinking when someone challenges you. It's the way you stand, the way you breathe, the way you look someone in the eye and hold it without flinching. And the truth is, a lot of men speak too much and say too little. But the man who pauses before he responds, who doesn't rush to impress, who lets silence do some of the talking, that man is a mystery, and mystery is power. Because when a woman can't predict you, she starts to study you, she leans in, she wonders. That's where attraction lives, not in what's said, but in what's felt. Now here's something no one tells you. You can develop this, you can slow your speech, you can drop your tone, you can train your presence. It's not about being someone else, it's about tuning out the noise inside you. The overthinking, the trying too hard, the self-doubt that says you need to impress her. You don't. You need to ground yourself. Women don't want to feel like you're performing. They want to feel like you're anchored, stoic, centered. A man who doesn't need her approval to feel confident. Think about it. Who's more memorable? The guy who talks over everyone trying to be funny, or the one who speaks less but says more? The guy whose voice cracks under pressure, or the one who speaks low, clear, and calm even when challenged? You already know, and here's the final truth. A deep voice and strong presence are not traits, they are practices. You don't need to be born with them, you build them by breathing slower, by speaking with intent, by standing still when others fidget, by making silence your ally. Because silence paired with presence creates anticipation. And anticipation is one of the most underrated forms of attraction. So if you've been wondering why loud guys get short-term attention, but calm, grounded men get long-term intrigue, now you know. Presence is rare, stillness is rare, and what's rare stays on her mind. So let me ask you, are you the noise in the room or the gravity in it? If this part resonated with you and you're ready to practice that presence, type this below. Silence commands respect, because the less you chase attention, the more it follows you. And next, we're diving into one of the most powerful female responses to masculine withdrawal. Why walking away at the right moment breaks her patterns. Stay tuned. Number 4. Women can't resist a man who walks away. Let's talk about one of the most counterintuitive truths in attraction. Walking away is often more powerful than chasing. Now, this isn't about playing games. This isn't about being cold or heartless. It's about knowing your value so well that you refuse to beg for someone who doesn't recognize it, and that kind of self-respect, it's magnetic. See, here's what most men don't realize. When a woman feels like she has full control, when she knows you'll stick around, no matter how she treats you, your presence becomes expected, predictable, safe. And while safe might sound like a compliment, it's often where desire goes to die. Because attraction is rooted in tension, not chaos, but contrast, polarity, the edge of not knowing. And when you become too available, too willing, too eager to stay, even when she disrespects you or pulls away, you kill that tension. You dissolve the mystery, and worst of all, you train her to believe she never has to work for you. But when a man walks away, not out of ego, not out of anger, but from clarity, something shifts. She feels it. She notices the vacuum where your energy used to be. And even if she was the one who pulled back first, your absence hits different when you don't come chasing. Because here's a truth most men ignore. It's not the leaving that impacts her. It's the silence that follows. That silence says everything you didn't need to explain. You won't beg, you won't settle, You won't give your presence to someone who treats it like an afterthought. Now let me be clear. Walking away doesn't guarantee she'll come running back, and that's not the goal. The goal is to return to yourself, to stop outsourcing your peace to someone else's mood, to stop playing emotional roulette every time your phone buzzes, to stop performing, convincing, adjusting, just to hold on to someone who's not showing up with the same energy. When you walk away from that, you're not giving up on her, you're choosing you, and that decision. It activates something primal, because whether she admits it or not, a man who can detach is a man she can't fully own. And what we can't own, what we can't control, what we can't predict, we obsess over. That's not manipulation, that's psychology. But here's the catch. For this to work, your walkaway has to be real, no half measures, no emotional bait, no checking to see if she noticed. She will notice, but only if you mean it. The man who walks and never looks back speaks louder than the man who begs with paragraphs. And women especially, the ones who thought they had you locked. Feel that shift on a level they don't even fully understand. They'll tell themselves you were never that interested, that you were immature, that you couldn't handle a strong woman, but deep down, they'll start to wonder. Did I push away a man who actually knew how to lead himself? And that question will echo. Because while most men cling harder when a woman pulls back, you left. And in doing so, you flipped the dynamic. You became the mystery again. You became the man who doesn't need validation to feel whole. You became in her mind the one who got away. And that's the irony. She can't resist you now, not because you fought to stay, but because you had the strength to leave. So if you've ever hesitated to walk, if you've ever stayed longer than you should have, hoping she'd change, remember this. Walking away isn't weakness, it's wisdom, it's protection, it's power. And if this part of the video hit something deep for you, if you've ever felt the fear of leaving silence where noise used to be type, this below, silence is power. Because sometimes the most stoic move isn't to speak, but to disappear and let your absence say it all. Number 5. A man with a mission is her kryptonite. There's something undeniably magnetic about a man who's focused, not on her, not on chasing validation, but on something bigger than both. That kind of man, he becomes her weakness, even if she doesn't understand why. Let's break it down. A man with a mission isn't checking his phone, waiting for her reply. He's not spending his energy trying to decode her moods. He's building something, a vision, a purpose, a path that requires all of him. And the more he aligns with that path, the less he's available for distractions. And yes, that includes her games. This isn't about being cold or distant. It's about being anchored. Because when a woman meets a man like that, something shifts inside her. She can feel that his attention is earned, not freely given, and suddenly she wants to earn it, not because he asked, not because he begged, but because his energy tells a story. I'm not here to orbit you, I'm moving forward with or without you. See, most men don't realize how deeply women are drawn to trajectory. Not status, not looks, not even charm, but momentum. And when a man is in motion, not just physically, but mentally and spiritually, he becomes unpredictable in the best way. He's not reactive, he's not clingy, he's grounded in his mission, and that creates the one thing she can't fake or resist. Respect. A man with a mission commands respect because he lives with direction. He doesn't explain it. He doesn't justify it. He just embodies it. And that embodiment pulls her in, because deep down, most women want to follow a man who's not afraid to lead himself. Now let me clarify, this isn't about dominance, it's not about power plays, it's not about putting her beneath your goals. It's about showing that you already had a life before her, and you're going to keep living it with or without her participation, that energy. It's rare. Because most men, when they're interested, make her the mission. They slow down their hustle. They rearrange their priorities. They start performing. hoping to be chosen, but a man with a mission doesn't ask to be chosen. He chooses himself every day, and that self-honoring energy can't be faked. She can feel it in the way you move, in the way you speak, and how quickly you say no to things that don't align with your vision. And that quiet strength, it drives her crazy, because for once she's not in control. You are not over her, but over you. And that's the game changer. When you lead your life with intention, you stop needing her admiration, and ironically, that's when she starts giving it. Because here's the truth, she doesn't want to be your everything. She wants to witness a man who already is. She wants to feel that she's adding to your life, not becoming it. So if you're a man who's been pulled off course, trying to impress her, realign. If you've lost focus, chasing approval, pause and ask yourself what matters most. Because every second you spend proving your worth to someone else is a second. You're not building the life you were meant to lead. And trust me, nothing commands loyalty, admiration, and desire like a man who's too locked into his purpose to beg for attention. So if you're ready to become that man, the one whose presence speaks louder than his promises, drop this in the comments. Mission before approval, because when your life has direction, you don't chase, you attract. And that's something no game, no line, no tactic can ever replace. Number 6. The paradox of controlled vulnerability. Let's talk about something most men either overuse or completely avoid: vulnerability. Some believe showing emotion makes them look weak. Others go the opposite way, spilling their hearts out too soon, thinking it will earn trust. Both miss the point. True power lies in the middle ground, controlled vulnerability. It's not about oversharing. It's not about pretending to be emotionless. It's about knowing when, where, and how much to reveal, and doing it with purpose, not neediness. See, here's what most men don't realize. Women are drawn to strength, but they stay for realness. That means if you walk around like an emotional robot, she won't feel anything. She might admire your stoicism, but there's no heart behind the stone. But if you dump your traumas on her on the third date, hoping she'll understand you or save you, that's not real connection either. That's pressure disguised as intimacy. Controlled vulnerability is different. It's saying, yeah, I've been through some things. I've faced darkness, but I didn't let it break me. It's showing depth without drowning someone in your depths. It's giving her a window, not your entire soul. And here's the twist: when you reveal your emotions in a grounded, measured way, without asking her to fix anything, you become unforgettable. Why? Because most men either hide their truth or let it consume them. Few learn to own it. That ownership is attractive on a level she can't even explain, because it says, I'm strong enough to face pain, but I'm wise enough not to weaponize it. And I don't need you to carry it for me. That balance. It's rare and it's magnetic. Women notice. They notice when you talk about a past loss without flinching. They notice when you reflect instead of blame. They notice when your eyes carry stories you never force into words. That's the paradox. The man who's emotionally secure enough to be open, but disciplined enough to do it, strategically pulls her in deeper than any pickup line ever could. She feels like she's discovering layers, not solving puzzles. She feels invited, not burdened, and that changes everything. Let me give you an example. Imagine two men. One avoids any talk of emotion, keeps everything surface level, cool, calm, distant. The other, he dives headfirst into every vulnerability, talks about every heartbreak, every fear, constantly seeks validation. Neither creates lasting attraction. But then there's the third man, the one who's calm, composed, but at the right moment says, I've been through betrayal. It taught me to trust myself more. I've lost things that mattered, but I never let it turn me bitter. He says it and moves on. No neediness, no over-explanation, just truth, controlled and clear. She won't forget that, because in that moment, she saw strength that isn't just physical. She saw emotional mastery, and that, my friend, is rare. So what does this mean for you? It means you don't need to share everything to be real. You don't need to fake indifference to seem powerful. You just need to feel deeply without being ruled by those feelings. That's Stoicism at its core. Not suppression, not emotional numbness, but ownership. When you can carry your scars with clarity and calm, you shift from being emotionally reactive to being emotionally resonant. And trust me, she feels that. So if you're still unsure about how much to show, remember this rule. Reveal enough to be human, hold enough to remain solid, because when you master that balance, you don't just impress her. You stir something in her, something she can't quite explain, something that feels rare, something that tells her this man knows himself and no woman can ever shake that. And if that's the kind of presence you want to build, drop this in the comments. Calm over chaos, because the man who can feel everything but isn't controlled by anything isn't just respected, he's remembered. Number 7. Women are programmed to test your strength. This is one of those truths men don't want to hear, but once you understand it, everything starts to make sense. Women will test you, not because they're cruel, not because they hate you, but because they're wired to. It's biological, it's psychological, and most importantly, it's inevitable. So the question isn't, how do I avoid her tests? The question is, how do I pass them without losing who I am? Let's take it from the top. Attraction, especially for women, isn't just about looks or charm, it's about certainty. Women are drawn to men who bring stability to unstable spaces, who stay composed when everything else is emotional, who stand grounded even when they're being challenged. That's why the test happens, not to destroy you, but to reveal you. When she gets distant, when she picks a small fight, when she says something just to see how you'll react. She's not always being malicious. She's measuring your emotional leadership. Can you stay calm? Can you stay true to yourself? Or will you fold the second things get uncomfortable? Most men fail here. They chase, they panic, they over-explain, they try to fix everything immediately because they're afraid of losing her. But what they don't realize is that this exact behavior, it's the real reason she pulls away, because if you can't hold your frame during a small test, how will you protect your values in a real crisis? That's what she's really looking for. Even if she never says it out loud, she wants to know. Can I trust his center when my emotions are all over the place? And let's be honest, relationships aren't always calm. Life throws things at you. People change. Stress hits. She's watching who you become in those moments. Not who you are when everything is perfect, but who you are when the energy shifts. That's the test. That's the proving ground. And here's where Stoicism comes in. The Stoic man doesn't react out of fear. He doesn't seek control. He doesn't argue to win. He stays still, observes, and moves with intention. Not with coldness, but with clarity. You don't need to respond to every emotional spike. You don't need to chase after every mood swing. You just need to be solid. Because when she sees that, her respect grows, and once respect is established, desire follows. But make no mistake, if you fail the test over and over, if you shrink yourself just to keep the peace, if you start walking on eggshells to avoid conflict, you're not being stoic, you're being weak, and she feels it. Women don't stay with men, they don't respect. Even if they love you, even if they're attracted to you, without respect, it dies fast. So how do you handle these tests in real time? First, breathe. Let silence work for you. Don't rush to fix or defend. Second, mirror back clarity. Respond with calm statements like, I'm not here to argue, but I'll always be honest. If this is something you need to figure out, I'll give you space. You're not punishing her. You're just showing her that your peace is non-negotiable. That kind of energy, fair. And women feel it instantly. They know they've met a man who doesn't fold, who doesn't overreact, who doesn't get pulled into emotional chaos. A man who's been tested and passed, and that man, He's not just respected, he's craved. So if you're watching this and you've failed some of those tests before, don't beat yourself up. The goal is progress, not perfection. Every test is a reminder to come back to yourself, to hold your frame, to lead not from control, but from calm. And if that's the man you're becoming, drop this in the comments. Stillness is strength. Because when she tests you, she's not looking for a reaction. She's searching for a man who doesn't flinch. Number 8. Confidence in the face of rejection is irresistible. Let's be real, rejection stings. No matter how stoic you think you are, no matter how much self-work you've done, getting brushed off by someone you're interested in can shake your ego for a moment. But here's the truth no one wants to admit. Your reaction to rejection reveals everything about your actual confidence. Not the kind you post about, not the kind you wear in photos, but the real kind. The one that lives in silence when no one's cheering. And here's where things get interesting. Most men think confidence is about always winning, but women, they pay attention to how you act when you lose. Because let's face it, rejection is a test, not from her directly, necessarily, but from life. And it asks you, do you crumble when you're not chosen? Do you lose your center when someone says no? Do you chase harder just to prove something? And most importantly, do you still believe in your worth even when it's not immediately validated? Because the man who can stand there unmoved, unrushed, unbothered after hearing "I'm not interested," that man terrifies her and fascinates her. Why? Because he's playing a different game. He's not looking for approval. He's not performing to be liked. He knows that rejection doesn't shrink him. It just reveals compatibility. You see, when you respond to rejection, with poise, with a calm, "I wish you well" energy, you send a clear message: I'm not desperate, I'm selective. And women feel that. In fact, sometimes the way you respond to rejection can ignite more attraction than the initial approach. Because here's something wild. A lot of women test boundaries through rejection. They say no just to see if you'll collapse. Not out of cruelty, but because they're watching to see if you secretly needed them to say yes, to feel worthy. And when you don't flinch, when you don't beg, when you don't argue or double text or guilt trip or retreat in bitterness, you become a mystery because in that moment, you're telling her something rare. You're allowed to pass. I don't lose value either way. Now let's go deeper. Stoicism teaches us that external events do not define us. Only our response to them does. So when a woman rejects you and you still walk away with composure, not arrogance, not fake indifference, but genuine inner peace, you live out that Stoic principle in real time. And it's powerful, not just to her, to you. Because each time you remain centered in the face of rejection, you harden your frame. You grow less attached to outcome. You develop a rare kind of resilience that no motivational quote can teach. And ironically, that's when more women start noticing you. Not because you're trying, but because your energy speaks before you do. Because here's the paradox. Rejection is only painful when your self-worth depends on being accepted. When you detach your identity from her response, you stop chasing, you stop proving, you start living. And that, my friend, is irresistible. So next time you face a no, smile, because it's not the end of something. It's the beginning of deeper self-respect. It's proof that you can hold your frame even when the moment doesn't go your way. And when you can do that, you're not just another guy in her DMs. You're the one she remembers. So if you've ever been rejected recently or in the past, but chose to walk away with grace and dignity, drop this in the comments: still chosen either way. Because at the end of the day, your confidence isn't about who wants you. It's about how little that changes who you are. Number 9. Women obsess over men who are hard to read. Let's make something very clear. Predictability kills attraction, and nothing is more predictable than a man who wears every emotion on his sleeve, answers every text instantly and constantly, tells her exactly what he's feeling every second of the day. It sounds romantic, it sounds honest, but in reality, it removes the very thing that fuels emotional investment. Mystery. See, the human mind is wired to chase closure. When something is unresolved, when it's unclear, when it dances in the space between certainty and curiosity, we fixate on it. We obsess over it. And that's exactly what happens when a man is just a little bit hard to read. Now, don't get this twisted. I'm not talking about playing mind games. I'm not saying you should be emotionally unavailable or manipulative. I'm saying this. A man who doesn't reveal everything instantly, who moves with quiet confidence, who leaves room for interpretation. He becomes unforgettable because he doesn't rush to prove himself. He doesn't over-explain. He doesn't try to make her feel safe by turning himself into an open book. He lets his energy do the talking. And that energy, it keeps her wondering. She wonders where you stand. She wonders what you're thinking. She wonders why you didn't immediately try to impress her like every other guy. And that wondering, it creates tension. Emotional tension. The kind that builds attraction slowly, then hooks deeply. Here's a truth women won't often say out loud. They value what they have to figure out. If you're too easy to figure out, you're easy to forget. But when you're hard to read, you create an emotional puzzle, not a toxic one, not a frustrating one, but one that invites her curiosity. Without giving her control, she starts leaning in, she starts replaying your words. She tells her friends, he's different. I can't quite tell what he's thinking. That, right there, that's power. Because when a woman is unsure but intrigued, when she feels your presence but can't quite define it, she invests more. Not because you asked, but because her mind won't let go. And again, this isn't about being cold. It's about having emotional depth that isn't on display. 24/7, you're not ice, you're fire contained. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you were truly captivated by something or someone that gave you everything up front? Probably never. We're captivated by what unfolds slowly, by what reveals itself layer by layer, by what we can sense is there, but can't quite define. And that's the type of man you want to be. The man who speaks clearly, but doesn't need to reveal every detail. The man who listens more than he talks. The man who lets silence hold weight. Because silence pauses ambiguity. They create pull, so how do you build that magnetic mystery without being fake? Start by protecting your emotional world. Don't overshare just to bond. Don't rush to explain your intentions. Let her feel you, not figure you out immediately. Speak less, mean more. Make her feel like she's earning access to who you are. Not like it's handed to her just because she's attractive. And most of all, be grounded in your truth, so much so that you don't need anyone to validate it. Because a man who can walk into a room and say little but leave an impression that lingers, he's the one women obsess over. So if you're tired of being the guy who's nice but forgettable, start embracing the power of being a little hard to read. And if this message hits home for you, drop this in the comments. Mystery attracts depth because at the end of the day, what she can't decode, she can't ignore. Number 10. A man who controls his desires controls everything. Let's talk about power, not the kind that flexes, not the kind that brags, but the kind that's felt quietly in the room when a man enters because he needs nothing. Desire in its rawest form can build empires or burn them down. It can drive greatness or expose weakness. And when it comes to women, desire is often where men lose the most control. They chase, they fold, they compromise their values, time, money, peace, all because desire overrides reason. But here's the Stoic truth: the man who can feel desire without being controlled by it is the most dangerous man in any room. Because he's free, you see, most men are prisoners to their urges. If she's beautiful enough, they'll abandon logic. If she offers attention, they'll trade away self-respect. If she pulls away, they'll chase even harder, and thinking desire alone justifies obsession. That's not power. That's slavery disguised as passion. The Stoic man doesn't eliminate desire, he masters it. He sees a beautiful woman and acknowledges her allure, but doesn't pedestal her. He feels the pull of attraction, but doesn't let it dictate his behavior. He recognizes the emotions rising up in him, but chooses his next move from discipline, not impulse, and that discipline, women feel it because it's rare. When you're not easily swayed, when you don't drop everything the moment she gives you a look, when your world doesn't orbit around her validation, you become unpredictable, grounded, intoxicating. Why? Because your restraint shows depth. Most guys, they reveal their hand too fast. They let lust speak before character. They turn interest into dependence fast. But when you're in control of your urges, you communicate this unspoken message. I choose. I'm not just reacting. That confidence, that containment, that inner stillness, it's what makes women lean in because they can't manipulate it. They can't fast-track it. They can't buy it or demand it. They have to earn it. And this flips the dynamic. You're no longer trying to win her over. You're evaluating if she even fits your life. And when a man leads with standards over hunger, he doesn't just attract better women. He attracts respect. Not just from others, but from himself. Now look, desire isn't the enemy. It's a natural part of being human. But what you do with it, that's where power lives. Do you chase every temptation only to feel empty after? Or do you channel that energy into purpose, creation, and growth? Because the man who can delay gratification, who can walk away when something doesn't align, who can enjoy the moment without becoming attached to outcome, that man, he's dangerous, because nothing owns him, not lust, not praise, not fear of being alone. And women, they feel that they respect it, even if they don't fully understand it, because deep down they know. The man who controls himself can't be controlled by anyone else. So the next time desire surges in you, pause, feel it, acknowledge it. But then ask, does this serve my purpose? Does this align with who I want to be? Because when you operate from that place, you don't just win in dating, you win in life. And if you've ever walked away from a tempting situation to protect your peace, if you've ever said no even when your whole body screamed yes, just know this, you didn't lose anything. You proved you were in charge, so drop this in the comments. If this hit deep, discipline over desire, because at the end of the day, your ability to control what controls most men is what separates you from all of them. So after hearing all 10 of these hidden truths, let's get one thing clear. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to memorize lines or play games. What you do need is presence, discipline, emotional strength. Because every one of these so-called weaknesses we talked about today, they don't give you power unless you've earned it by mastering yourself first. That's the Stoic edge, not being cold, not being arrogant, but being so rooted in who you are that no one, not even the most beautiful, mysterious, unpredictable woman, can shake your foundation. The moment you stop chasing validation and start choosing alignment, everything changes. She'll feel it. The world will reflect it. And most importantly, you'll respect it. So if you found value in today's message, if any part of this made you pause and say, yeah, that's me now, then let it show. Tap that subscribe button and join the movement. Not for views, but because this space is where real inner power gets built one day at a time. And hey, if one of those 10 lessons stood out to you the most, drop it in the comments below. Tell me which one hit hardest, which one you needed to hear, which one you're about to start living. Because this isn't about information, it's about transformation. I appreciate you for watching. You could have clicked on anything else today, but you chose to build your mindset, and that matters. See you in tomorrow's video. Stay grounded, stay silent, stay sharp.